Hi, Heather.
Hi, Krista.
We just got off another very lovely call with our Become a Grounded Guide participants. End of module two. We're taking a little break for our summer, even though it's middle of the winter for our
Some of our
Southern
people.
Hemisphere friends.
Yeah.
But we were talking about mistakes today and how essentially as a grounded guide one should approach mistakes that we have made, that others have made, some of the processes you recommend for addressing that. And it's sort of tied into some of the things we were talking about before that call, which included things like how defended people become when you challenge their ideas on
Mhm.
things, and how that relates very much to both of our experiences in deconstructing our beliefs about a variety of things. Deconstructing and reconstructing, I guess, is probably appropriate to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it made me think of a blog post I wrote a few years ago about a really ridiculous mistake that I made, and the intense reaction I had to it. It was about a television show, and I discovered at the end of this television show that I was in the complete wrong timeline. I thought this show had happened during one time, but it actually happened in a different time. And I was so confused and I was so, it disrupted just my whole experience that I had had watching this show. And I was like, I had to rethink everything. And I was so thrown off and weirdly ashamed that I had missed that so completely.
Yeah.
And that part surprised me a lot. Thankfully, I had this experience in a really ridiculous kind of setting, and I was able to process it quite quickly. But I know that it happens in other ways when you have a belief about something, and all of a sudden someone comes to you with confronting evidence
Yeah.
that that's not what that counters what you believed. Um, and yeah, and whether it's a mistake or whether it's, again, a belief that you've had for a long time. Um, yeah, and I know you've talked a lot about sort of this concept of safety, belonging, and identity. And I think we would both agree that the belief piece can often hit that identity piece
Mhm.
first, which is where some of that reactiveness and defensiveness comes
Uh,
up.
yeah.
So tell me a little more about your own musings on this particular topic.
Yeah. I think that last part that you just mentioned, that we have a tendency to underestimate or under recognize how much our beliefs and our need to cling to certain beliefs are attached to our identity. And because we don't always know how to name our beliefs until they're activated. Like you
Right.
probably wouldn't have been able to name your belief about that TV show until
No.
you were told you were wrong. And then
Yes.
all of a sudden it reveals the belief. So when somebody presents differing information, suddenly it reveals the belief that you held that you didn't know you had. And then when you have a belief revealed that you didn't know you had, what the other layer you probably don't know is how much you've attached to some version of your identity is attached to that belief. So now when somebody presents different information that might disrupt the belief, it's not just disrupting the belief, it's disrupting your story about yourself, about who you
Mm,
are. And
yeah.
it's causing you to have to reimagine yourself. And maybe part of your reimagining is that you're not as smart about those kinds of TV shows as you thought you were, or you're,
Uh-huh. Yep.
I don't know.
That was
I don't
one of
know.
them for sure.
I don't know what it confronted in you, but there's a or just like we all want to construct a version of ourselves that we are smart, competent people, and like being shown a mistake or a flaw in our belief system can really unravel what we held to be true. And as we talk about when we talk about the triad, the core needs triad, safety, belonging, identity, those are so intertwined
Mm,
that if you threaten my identity by disrupting a belief I have, then I'm going to, one of my first fears is that now you're going to take away my safety and my belonging as well,
Yeah.
because it's all intertwined. My safety and belonging feels connected to my identity. So if I have, and one of my identities, having grown up as fairly doing well academically, academics in my lifetime was one of the ways I gained some personal
Hmm.
value because I wasn't very athletic or I didn't have a lot of other skills, but in school I did well. So
Right.
I rooted some of my identity in that ability to do well in school. So then there's a part of my young brain that attached, oh, I have belonging because people like me because I'm pretty smart and I fit into certain groups of the smarter kids in school. And if I have belonging there, then I also have safety in those social circles. And so
Right.
now, if you do something that reveals that I'm not as smart as I thought I was, then it's threatening to topple that whole structure. And
Right.
so that's where our emotional growth and our development helps us rearrange the identity piece and 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 then soothe the activation that tells us our safety and belonging is at threat. Like the more emotionally mature I get, the more I can disrupt that. I can deconstruct beliefs because I have a pretty solid sense that I'm still going to have safety and belonging. But also, then what we're underestimating so many times is that we all have younger parts in us that are
Hmm.
still going to be activated. You know, like I just
Hmm.
spent 4 days with my siblings, which was perfectly lovely, and we had a really beautiful time. But when you're with your family of origin that you were a small child with, growing up with, you still have stories that they can activate in ways probably nobody else
Hmm.
can because it still can threaten your sense of your young child self, and that young child lives in all of us throughout our lives.
Hmm.
And so recognizing I can get activated in ways that the mature version of me would scoff at, but it's still in me, and B, recognizing that that young part is clinging to the safety, belonging identity because that's how the world feels solid.
Hmm.
All of those things, the more we recognize that, the more we can name that. And so now when you challenge a belief, I can say, okay, younger Heather, I know you're a little bit scared right now because somebody threatened, your A+ version of what you were in grade 5. But you can handle it because it's not the whole story.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I have a lot of that too. And I'm thinking on a more serious note, some of the issues that I had with more recently with my former church denomination and just coming to the realization that they are not or no longer or possibly never were the kinds of or believed in the kinds of things that I thought they did.
Right.
And that was really hard. Like that was really confronting because not only did I feel somewhat betrayed by them, I also felt kind of stupid because I was like, did I miss it? Did I not see it? Did I choose not to see it? And that was really hard. That was very confronting. And I'm still wrestling with that off and on as I get activated by various things. But I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that I love about our work is that we never look at things in a straight line. Like we sort of recognize that everything spirals and circles. And yeah, and activating can trigger you back to a less mature reaction than you might have when you're not activated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and to have grace for that and to because I think if the more grace you can have for that, the more quickly you can move through it to the other end.
Exactly. Yeah, have grace for yourself in your activation and for the other people involved.
Yes.
And that's why this is our work is relational work
Yeah.
because I need to when let's say you confront something in me, I need to hold space for myself first because it's going to activate some shame and fear of losing my safety and belonging and having to dismantle my identity. And then I also have to trust you to move through that with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so developing a more grounded, mature relationship involves, oh, I have trust that we can move through this dismantling of myself and coming out the other side, and we're still going to show up for each other. And that's tricky when, and like you say, sometimes the other person doesn't meet you, or the group doesn't
No.
meet you there, because then you think, oh, I thought this was the nature of this relationship was different than it actually is. I
Yeah.
thought you had beliefs that were more aligned with me, or I thought you had more capacity to hold space for me, or you had more
Yeah.
capacity to move through a fumble, or to evolve a
Disagreement.
belief system. And
Yeah.
now suddenly I'm disillusioned because the relationship's not what I thought it was, or you're showing up differently than I thought you would, or yeah.
Yeah.
So it's there's no linear paths through this, and that's why deconstruction work is so complicated, because it's can be really shattering to our relationships, and our relationships where this needs to be rooted. And so sometimes we have
Absolutely.
to find other people to hold space for the deconstruction, rather than the people that were in close
In
relationship
part of it. Yeah.
already. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that that can be really hard for folks because, yeah, we, as connected as we are, we're still not as connected in some ways because a lot of our, social media has turned a lot of our relationships into these one-sided conversations where you're talking to your phone and then someone else is talking
Yeah.
to their phone, and it feels like a conversation or a connection, but it's kind of not really. Like it's very
Yeah.
stunted and stuttered to some extent. Um, yeah, and makes it really hard. It makes it hard to
Yeah.
find the places where you can feel safe enough
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have that back and forth without,
Yeah.
yeah, without your activation overwhelming you and activating your flight response and getting you the heck out of there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I think there are a number of ways in which we are our defendedness is being more and more activated.
Yes, I agree.
One of those is social media, because I'm not reading all of the cues, so I can't enter into a nuanced conversation with you, and so I have to protect myself in that space, and so I'm going to show up slightly defended against somebody
All the time.
criticizing me.
Yep.
I cannot process a criticism on social media, and I speak from personal experience being out there, and people are going to criticize me. If we were in a conversation space where we could work through the nuances of that, I would engage. But in social media, if you just comment with a criticism on me, I don't know how to engage with that energy
Right.
on social media. And so we show up defended in our positionality. And social media is one, and our political systems is another one,
Oh
where
gosh, yes.
we are building countries based in oppositional politics, and that filters down to the culture of the community. So then we build our identity on which position we hold politically, and then we can't
Yeah,
meet because we don't create spaces for the nuance and the complexity of
yeah,
our opinions to show up. And so
exactly.
we are creating systems that put us in defended positions, and then that the systems are like, it's that loop of like,
Oh, yeah,
we're doing it, building it that way, and then it's forming us that way. And so
totally.
that's something I notice in. And then we're not evolving the emotional skills and the relational skills to have more complex and nuanced conversations around things.
No, absolutely not. Then we just get more and more embedded into your P's, right? Like the perfectionism,
Yeah,
policing,
yeah,
performance, all of that stuff, right?
yeah,
Because that those are the things that help you stay defended at the end of the
yeah.
day. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, because I have to maintain my position in a
yeah,
hierarchical system. So if I'm
yes,
in a patriarchal system, and what you're referring to is what I call the hard P's of
the hard P's.
perfectionism, performance measurement, punitive punishment.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's others, like not bringing them all
you've
to the
got like
forefront right now.
27 of them. I can't
Oh,
remember them all.
I know. Purity culture is another one.
Purity, yeah,
These are all rooted in systems of measurement for status within the system. So a
yeah,
patriarchal system needs to be able to measure our performance, needs to convince us to try to achieve a certain level of purity and perfectionism,
yeah,
so that we can measure our value in the hierarchical system, and have access to power and privilege. And
yeah,
if it can degrade us in that, then it can cast us in a lower level of that system. And so, yeah, we're fighting against that in so many ways. And
Yeah.
this is why our work is how do we return to our humanity and disrupt the systems and disrupt the beliefs rooted in those systems that are shaping us and reshaping us and restricting us. And
Yeah.
if we're human together, we can meet in the messy middle and
Yes.
we're not defending ourselves against each other as much.
Yeah. Yeah, which I think is going to be is one of the great parts about Whale Song coming up because yeah, that's basically what it is. Let's be messy, human, creative beings together and
Yeah.
see what we come up with.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because if we and that's what you and I do is we
yeah,
intentionally create spaces and then work to create a container that can hold that kind of movement and disruption and revealing of ourselves
yeah,
without fearing the repercussions of being punished for what we're going to reveal.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
so that's the, yeah, that when you come to our spaces, it's always our hope that you will feel like they are safe enough spaces to wrestle with your mistakes, with your belief
hmm,
systems, with all of that to learn and grow and heal and not be judged and punished and expected a certain
yeah.
performance to show up there.
Totally. And it's often very dissonant for some of our participants to show up in a space like that because some of them show up wanting more of those measurement things. And we're like,
Exactly.
sorry, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
And other folks, they'll show up for a few calls and then if they can't show up for a few other, they'll panic and be like, oh no, they're judging us. And we're like, no, just show up. Or they'll
Yeah.
be like, I'm going to be late. Yeah, show up.
Yeah, exactly. We're just being
Just
human
be
together.
here with us. Like, that's
Yeah.
that's what we're looking for. Like
Yeah,
be
and
here how you are when you are.
at the same time, I also want to acknowledge that requires some boundary setting as well.
Yes. Oh yes.
So
No, that
it
is we're not a
does
free for all by any
no,
stretch.
it does
No.
not mean that any behavior
No.
is acceptable in this
No.
container.
No, no, no.
It means that we're going to guard this container and set the boundaries necessary so that people can do that hard work together in this collective
Yeah.
space.
And we're going to agree on them together. Like we try to
Yeah,
make it as collaborative a space and as
yeah,
consensual as possible. I mean, one of the things
exactly.
we always say at the beginning is we record these calls, but if at any point you want to say something that you do not want recorded, let us know and we'll
Yeah,
pause.
yeah,
Um, because
exactly.
we want people to feel like this is, I'm here because I'm choosing to be, I'm safe here. Everyone else is safe here too. And also I can be brave here. And
Yeah,
that's the other thing. Like when we say safe, we don't mean comfortable.
yeah. No, it's,
Totally
I mean,
different.
we build some safety so that we can be brave. It's like the launching off pad. It's
Exactly.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
we do work on some safety, but not, like you say, not allowing that safety to move into comfort so that we
No,
still have the capacity to do the brave work because
to do
growth
the brave
doesn't
work.
happen unless we are brave.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we'll just keep fumbling along, doing our best
Yeah,
doing that, I think.
you and I are good at
Because,
fumbling. That's what we're here for.
yep. Yep. So if you want to come fumble with us, we got lots on offer. We have lots of free stuff
Exactly.
you can check out on our website. We have lots of programs that you can choose from. We have built quite the library of amazing
Yeah,
resources
yeah.
and courses for you to participate in. Whale Song is coming up. Become a Grounded Guide is still running. You can still sign up for the
The
modules
next
for that.
module.
We're yeah, next module starts in August, module 3. Our Holding Space Foundation program just wrapped up, and you are welcome to sign up for next year's iteration. And if you've already been through the Holding Space program and would like to go a little deeper, the Holding Space certification program is coming up. And you're going to be in Europe in the
Yeah,
fall.
yeah.
So there is a lot. We got a lot going on.
Yeah,
Lots of
and I think
ways
I'm
to
doing
check us
five or
out.
six, potentially up to six things in Europe. So
Whoa.
if you happen to be in Europe or want to travel to Europe, there are many options, and I'll be busy here and
Amazing.
there, but yeah, we have some of the greatest people, some of our
Oh my
European
gosh. Our European
colleagues
team is
that we
amazing. Yeah.
adore. We have them in other parts of the world too, but the
Yeah, it makes it really hard for us because we're sitting here in Canada. Heather and I are two time zones away from each other. So we have that to contend with all the time. And then we've got this great European team. And then we've got these amazing people in Australia and New Zealand and that part of the world.
And Vietnam.
Vietnam,
Yeah.
Singapore, we've had some folks come
Yeah.
from. We've now got folks from like West Asia, and it's like trying to find a time that works for all of our
Exactly.
programs. I feel like we should get a medal, or at
Yeah.
least our team members should, because they do all the work figuring that out. Anyway,
Uh,
lots to see, lots to check out. Consider joining us for something. Anything else?
Absolutely. We love our people.
We do. Come be our people.
That's it.
That's it.